Hey, it's Eve from Class with Prof. Eve. Welcome back. In this video, I am doing a book review of Bloodmarked by Tracy, Deonn. I know that I am late to this series. I did read Legendborn, the first book, over a year ago. But I just got to this one a few months ago, and it's a chunky one, just like Legendborn. This might be a little bit longer than Legendborn was. So since I'm a sociologist, I want to provide my book reviews with a sociological analysis and discuss social implications and things like that. So it might not be your traditional book review, but hopefully you'll find it useful anyway. So Bloodmarked, the second book in the Legendborn series. This is a story about a young Black girl, Brianna Matthews, right there. She goes to university and ends up connecting with this. Initially, she meets a boy at the college. His name is Nicholas Davis, and starts to find out that there's something different about him, that he has, sort of a secret life, or there's something going on behind the scenes that she doesn't know about. They're developing a romantic relationship. And she ends up discovering that there is this entire order that exists of people that are called Legendborn. And there's various collectives. This is a very complex story with a lot of different groups and individuals and titles and things like that. So I'm going to try to not get too caught up in this. But this collective are people that have inherited magical powers from their ancestors. And one form of magic that's really dominant in this series is ether. And it is a form of magic that can be drawn in through just like focusing your mind, intention. For some people, like the people that are called Merlins in the book, it's really easy to generate ether. And so once they generate this, like, how would I describe ether? Like this, actually you can see it here on the title. That would be ether in the red and the blue. And so usually it does show up in a certain color: blue, red, silver, white. And it's kind of a, fiery, airy sort of thing. But with this ether, some people can create weapons with them. So you draw your ether and you can create a sword, you can create a knife, you can create full body armor, all sorts of different things. So these individuals have all sorts of magical capacities that vary depending on their status and the particular line that they come from. So of course, Brianna doesn't know anything about this. Nicholas does, but Brianna doesn't know anything about, this collective. But they sense that she is someone that's supposed to be in that order, that she has some sort of gift. And that is the reason that she ends up being kind of drawn in. And this is like all white students, all white people. She's like one of the only Black people in the story, like Legendborn. She's like one of the only Black people in that collective of the order, not necessarily the college. So that is a really big part of this book as well, being this young Black girl with these special gifts derived from your ancestors. And so you can just imagine the historical implications to that. Obviously, this is a story that was written by a Black woman. And Tracy Deonn actually has a note in the back of this book. I don't remember there being a note in Legendborn, but maybe there was, where she talks about, her African ancestry, the legacy of slavery, being major sources that she drew from when writing this book and writing Brianna's particular story. Because what's unique about Brianna is that she is connected to this order, this magical collective of people, due to one of her ancestors, like her mother's mother's mother, being sexually assaulted by Nicholas Davis's father's father, who was King Arthur. His name was King Arthur, and he was like at the top of this order. And so everyone had assumed that Nicholas Davis would be the next king. And actually it's discovered that Brianna is the king, and what she's called is the scion of Arthur. And this is because of that bloodline that she is a part of due to the sexual assault of her ancestors that were enslaved. So a really complex, story in that way. And so in this second book, Brianna is becoming more familiar with her powers, really struggling with this order. They are very racist. They do not want this black girl at the helm of the order. They also are intimidated by some of her additional gifts that she has that other people don't have. And that's what's called rootcraft, Rootcraft. And that's talked about in the first book, Legendborn, a little bit more, but basically, it is those magical gifts that were given to her by her ancestors. And what rootcraft is the ability to draw power. And so instead of like drawing ether, which she can do that too, but with rootcraft, she can actually draw like fire. And so in like the center of her chest, I think is where she has like a chest plate, and that's kind of where it comes from, but it spreads throughout our entire body, so she can burn entire groups of people, burn down buildings. It's a very, very powerful source of magic. So that's something that's really unique to Brianna's bloodline. And so this book is called Bloodmarked because we discover in the book that, and this is spoiler alert if you haven't read this, we discover in the book that Brianna's lineage, her ancestors, were bloodmarked by demons. And the Merlins are demons. Some of them can, exist in the world like regular people, but they actually draw from the suffering of people, the anger, misery of people. They thrive from that like fuels them. And one of the main characters in this series is called Selwyn Kane, and he's actually a Merlin. He's a demon. But he's been able to keep that at bay because of his connection or his oath with Nicholas Davis, who of course is the love of Brianna as well. And so there's a really complicated story there with some romance and feelings coming up and all these sorts of things between the three of them, actually, even between Nicholas and Selwyn at different points. So we find out in Bloodmarked, this book, that one of Brianna's great ancestors had made a bargain with the demon to free her upcoming lineage or future generations from the what is it called? Sorry, I'm blanking on the from the tie to author, from that tie to author. And so she makes a bargain with the demon, but no one knows about this at all. Brianna's the first person to even discover that her lineage was bloodmarked. And so these demons go after a person in the lineage, like every generation there's someone. And so Brianna is that person in this generation. So she's being hunted heavily. The order is very captivated by her abilities and just the fact that she's a little black girl, and they end up imprisoning her and she escapes, and it's just this roller coaster ride. A very good story, hard to put this book down, really incredible. I'm looking forward to reading the next book, which is called Oathbound, and that's the last of the 3 books in the series. So now I'll give my sociological commentary. I really liked the story of Rootcraft and how that was developed in both of the books so far. And, the way that it really did bring up, my own sensitivities around my own history and lineage. And, often in Black communities, and you could probably see this kind of discussion online where it's like, Black people are magic, Black women are magic. And that is sort of a stance that Tracy Deonn takes as well. And you can see that, incorporated into her books. And so with all of that, this really resonates in a very particular way. And so there were points in this book where I got teary-eyed, just had to really just sit in reflection for a while. And also just the dynamic of Brianna and Nicholas and, her dealing with all of this racism from these people around her. These are experiences that Black people endure all the time, almost every day if you live in the U.S. So it was really hard to read some of these things, and her being so young, and even though she has all this power, really, kind of naive. She's like 15, I think, in Legendborn, and 16 in this book. So a very young child, and being placed with this great responsibility of being a king, essentially, right? In the face of all these people that hated her, that looked at her like she was some animal to be dissected or experimented on. And they tried that with her. So this book really, I think resonated in a particular way because of that for me, and probably for a lot of Black readers. But I also think that it offers other people a lot of value as well, where you really start to think about these different power structures and hierarchies and status symbols and nepotism, right? How all of these things play out over the course of generations, and the things that people are willing to do to maintain status. This king Arthur was very aggressive and hostile and was willing to do anything to reclaim his crown in the modern time of this book. So it's just really interesting to look at how far people will go to have a certain status, to maintain dominance, and the lies that they'll tell, and the lives that they'll ruin in the process. So that was another point of deep reflection for me in this book. So I would highly recommend the Legendborn series. I'm going to be grabbing Oathbound maybe today. I plan on going to the library today to pick up another book, so I'll probably grab Oathbound at the same time, because I like to keep a novel going in the midst of reading a lot of nonfiction, for work and for business and things like that. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. If you've read this series, if you've read this book, any thoughts about what I've said in this video. I'd love to have some conversation about it. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.